What can I say? I cannot stop thinking about Thing in the Ice. This card is going to be ridiculous, and I really want to play it in Modern. It solves some problems. It makes the Boggles creatures way worse if you can flip this thing. It doesn't matter that they have hexproof. Now, conversely, the downside is if basically every blue deck starts running this, it means that Geist of St. Traft isn't as good as he was, because against control decks and whatnot, Geist was really great because they had no way to interact with him. But this is good against Boggles. He is good against like Lingering Souls or Spirit Tokens in general, because they're just going to disappear when they go back to their opponent's hand, because they can't. Against aggressive decks or just mid-range decks, this can be like mid-range Zoo. This thing's, assuming it lives, it can be a ridiculous tempo swing. There's some other interesting things too. Snapcaster Mage and Jace Vryn's Prodigy. I'm starting to wonder, can you make a deck with all 1 and 2 drops in Modern for Thing and Ice, for Jace Vryn's Prodigy, for Snapcaster Mage, and just make it like maybe you could even run 4 Delver, because if Delver gets bounced back to your hand, do you really care? It's such a low cost to just play another Delver for 1. Might not be good enough. Where I don't necessarily see this working as well with is something like Young Pyromancer, because you sort of invest a lot of time and energy, and then you do a bunch of negative tempo to yourself. But the reason I'm mentioning like 4 Thing and Ice, 4 Snapcaster Mage, 4 Vryn's Prodigy is because you're going to want a bunch of cheap spells, cantrips, lightning bolts, things like that, Path to Exiles maybe, to take ice counters off of this. And if you're going to want a bunch of cheap spells, then you're definitely going to want a bunch of Snapcaster Mages and maybe even Vryn's Prodigy. In fact, that I'm coming around. The other reason Vryn's Prodigy is good, obviously, is because if he flips Vryn, then he doesn't get bounced by Awoken Horror. And I'm actually kind of coming around on another spell that I saw as well. Jason Clark mentioned this on Twitter, and my response was, well, Steam Augury didn't see play, and this is kind of the same thing. But it's really not, especially when you consider that you don't have to wait till you get to 4 mana. If you throw 4 Steam Augury in your deck, suddenly you're especially in Modern, your 4-drop slot is like pretty, what are you going to have 4, in like a control deck for card advantage, you're going to have 4 Cryptic Commands, 4 Epiphany, or 4 Steam Augury, or even Factor Fiction. I do wish they'd print Factor Fiction, but the thing is, if you're using Epiphany at Drown Yard, you can use it for 2. It's a cantrip at least. Now your opponent gets to pick what goes in your hand. But if you're running an extraordinarily dense deck full of instants and sorceries, then that's probably fine, because you can get him back with Jace Vryn's Prodigy or Snapcaster Mage. So this might be Modern playable. The other thing is, if Awoken Horror bounces your Snapcaster Mage, great! Like, I get to replay a Snapcaster Mage. And because you're potentially playing things like Thought Scours, like maybe you have 4 Thought Scour, 4 Epiphany at the Drown Yard, then you can flip your Jace pretty easily. You have a bunch of instants and sorceries in the graveyard for Jace and for Snapcaster Mage. Not to mention, this thing comes down on 2 and then just blocks Wild Nacatl or blocks Goblin Guides, whatever. It's also pretty awesome that against decks like Affinity, who usually have problematic cards in the version for decks that I play in the version of, or in the problematic cards, specifically speaking about Etch Champion. This is awesome because it doesn't matter that he's colorless. He's going to get bounced back to their hand, and you can even do it at the end of their turn. If you do it at the end of their turn and you basically remove all their blockers, you're going to turn around and attack with a 7/8. That's totally awesome. Against Elves, Elves can be a really fast deck, but you cast a couple of cantrips, a couple of removal spells. They go all in with Azuri, and you Thought Scour yourself, remove the last time counter, flip a thing in the eyes to Awoken Horror, bounce all of their elves. This card is just insane. If against decks like Goryo's Vengeance or Through the Breach decks, you got a little thing in the ice sitting around, and they go through the breach. You let it resolve, or maybe you counter the spell that removes the time counter. Whatever happens, like Emrakul comes in and boop. You Thought Scour yourself, remove the last time counter, bounce Emrakul back to their hand. There's just the fact that this is like a Sunder on a stick, and then turns around and attacks for 7. I just can't. I can't. It's so insane. And you can run a low land count, so you can definitely make room for a couple of dispels to protect it. And when it flips, you probably only have to invest a mana, so you can hold counter magic up to protect it. This thing, it seems like it's going to be just completely insane. I'm really excited about it. You can do it at the end. You can flip it at the end of their turn for a tempo swing. What is it already? If it flips, what is it ridiculous against? It's ridiculous against like big zoo decks. If you're playing creatures that are 3 and 4 mana, bouncing them all up to your hand is insane. It's good against boggles, because then all of their enchantments fall off. This, if this gets really popular, it probably makes boggles almost unplayable. It seems completely reasonable even against Affinity. It seems awesome with Jace Vryn's Prodigy because it won't bounce him. It even seems awesome with Snapcaster Mage, because if Snap gets bounced to your head, you just don't care. Snap's already really cheap, and then it lets you just get more card advantage, because then you can flash back more spells, and you're probably already going to run Thought Scour in a deck where you're doing this, and you're already going to run potentially 4 Epiphany at the Drown Yard. And the more I think about this spell, the more I like it, because in the beginning it's like, but you know what? If the game does go long, I'm totally going to be thrilled to, spend 6 on this, or 5, and draw, reveal 6 cards, and then give my opponent 2 awesome piles. Like, and then when they make me discard, you can just arrange it so that it doesn't matter if you have like Jace Vryn's Prodigy and Snapcaster Mage in play. I really think that there's going to be something with some number of 4 Thing in Ice, Jace, Snapcaster Mage, Thought Scours, Epiphany at the Drown Yard, perhaps. The other thing is, it might even, you might even just be able to play Logic Knot as straight up counterspell, because if you're putting that many cards in your graveyard, 4 Thought Scours, 4 Epiphanies, you probably have enough in there where you can just play Logic Knot, delve away stuff, counterspell. I don't necessarily like Thing in the Ice. I would want to find more ways to gain value or just an advantage out of putting things in our graveyard, like Lingering Souls, for example. But the thing is, I don't really want to... I want to run blue, and if I'm going to run all those snaps, if that's what happens, I probably want to run red. It may just be Grixis, right? It may not even be white. It may just be... because then... then if you're running a bunch of Call Against commands, you can get back your Jaces, you can get back Snap, or you can get back Thing in the Ice. I just want to start brewing up, like, it's going to be some kind of Grixis tempo mid-range. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know that it works as well with Tasigur and Gurmag Angler. But you could have, like, Thought Scours, Terminates. You could even then, if you're running 4 Thought Scour, 4 Serum Visions, and some number of Epiphany at the Drown Yard, then you're talking, like, you're also going to have what was I going to say? Oh, you may even be able to just get away with running like Murderous Cut, so you could have like Murderous Cut, Logic Knots, 4 Thought Scours, 4 Epiphany at the Drown Yard. I don't even know if you need Serum Visions to that point, but probably. I mean, I don't know how many cards we have in our deck, but you get Lightning Bolt, you get Terminate for big creatures. I think this thing's going to be sweet, man. I really do. I'm excited. And like I said, I am coming around on this card. This may... I don't know that it's necessarily going to spawn a new deck, but it might change. This card seems powerful enough. It might spawn a new deck. It might be the 4 Snap, 4 Jace, 4 Thing in the Ice deck. You know, but if it's Grixis, then people may just still call that Grixis something or other. Grixis Thing? There you go. You know, black, if you're doing Grixis, I'm not saying that you want to do this, but black even gives you access to Vampire Hexmage. In which, I'm not saying that you want to, but if you go like turn 2 Thing in the Ice, turn 3 Vampire Hexmage, and attack with a 7/8 on turn 3, I mean, that is a thing, right? That is not awful. Yeah, this is just going to be totally nuts. I'm excited about this card. It also seems like it could be good against things like Merfolk. I mean, maybe a little slow, but you know, if you also have Gitaxian Probes just to help you flip this more quickly and put more things in your graveyard and cantrip, you know, you can flip it. I would think relatively quickly. I'm just trying to think of like what are all the potential uses for this thing. I know what it was. Infect. You know, it doesn't really kill their thing, but if they ever, you know, if you have enough counters on this, if they ever try to go in, it returns. It doesn't say like non-land creatures. It just says creatures. So it returns Inkmoth Nexus, and yeah, this thing is beast, man. I'm excited. It is tempo on a stick. It is removal for some things like Boggles. I'm just, you know what, I'm like, haven't been this excited about a card in a long time, and I'm 100% going to try and do something with it. The only downside is if I end up putting it in Grixis and it becomes like my new favorite thing. Well, like I have like all my foiling work is in Jeskai, because that's what I figured I would always play, Jeskai Geist. I would be kind of sad because I cannot bring myself to foil another deck. But anyway, first world problems, right? What am I even complaining about? Alright guys, I just wanted to share my thoughts. Super excited. Coming around on. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have ideas. Again, I'm kind of thinking like, you know, I don't have a deck list. I just have general ideas. And I'm thinking, well, you know, if we're going to run Jace, because he synergizes well with Thing in the Ice and that he doesn't flip, then I want to run Thought Scours, and then I may want to run Epiphany. And what else can we do to get value? Snapcaster Mage, but what else can we do? Maybe, you know, like I said, Lingering Souls, but I don't know if I'm going to be in those colors, and I'm definitely not going to be in those colors and black, and white and black and blue and red. So, you know, I don't know if it's some kind of reanimate. I don't think so. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Super excited. If you're watching this now and you haven't already, well, it's like in an hour and a half, the video of the day is going to get posted, but I'm going to share this now because excited. All right, guys, I'll see you later today, potentially, for watching this before the next video comes out, and I'll definitely see you tomorrow. And until then, draw well and smash face. Bye-bye.